War Eagle, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together and we talk about what's going on in the world of the Auburn Tigers family, fan base, whatever you want to call us, whatever phrase you want to use there. If it's Auburn Tigers, we talk about it here. Obviously, always heavy on the sports, but if it's orange and blue, if we can relate it back to that, we'll discuss it here on this live stream. So thank you for joining us. If you're watching this live or on the replay, if you are here live, I would appreciate it if you do us a huge favor, and on the replay as well for that matter of fact, but especially live, if you'll smash that like button if you enjoy this type of content, and if you'll share it out on social media with your friends and your family and help them be a part of our little family within the Auburn family. So guys, thank you all so much for being here tonight. Not broadcasting on a social media platform alongside this, just YouTube. You guys are the only stream going tonight. Kind of an impromptu stream for me. I felt like I needed to do something today, and we kind of discussed last week we would do maybe a trivia night on Mondays, and we might come back to that, but with today being the first practice, I thought Auburn football would be hot and heavy on everybody's minds right now. It'd be the main thing that they might want to discuss. Also, there's the whole March Madness thing, so it may not be the best week to kind of get going on a somewhat regular schedule online. So, with that being said, I'd like to talk maybe about Auburn football, first day of spring practice stuff. You know, there's news about Coach Harsin's contract, what everybody's thinking about, the storylines going into spring practice. We can discuss all of that and everything in between right here. But before we get into that, you know the drill. If you've been here before, we'll go through our pre-show stuff. As you do that, please do make sure you obviously drop a War Eagle, and also comment right now. Where are you watching from? What city, what state, country, if you're international? Post that right now as we go through this pre-show stuff. And I did it again. I got to get the right one up here right now. The podcast support page is here. You can find all of this stuff that we have listed here at the very, very top of the chat. If you're in the chat window, whether it's live or on the replay, but you can also find it in the description for this video as well if you want to access it and go check some of these things out. The Booster Club, ways you can listen to the podcast. You can donate. You can buy from our TeePublic store. All great ways to help support the content we do here. Also, and I don't have a card to bring this up right now. I guess I should have had that one ready. We are doing our March Madness Bracket Challenge. Now, that is actually the very first link that I have in the chat window for you. So if you'd like to be part of that, find it up there in the description. The password that you will need is CONQUER, C-O-N-Q-U-E-R, CONQUER, like ever to conquer. If you haven't figured it out, E2C Network stands for Ever to Conquer Network. So I hope that you figured it out by now. But anyway, so that's the way you can participate. I see War Productions is here. He's already joined in on the fun there and is claiming that he's going to be the dominant force in our bracket challenge. Got a good group assembling already, and we want to have many, many more there if you haven't joined up. Thomas is here. He says from calling in, but watching from Leeds, Alabama. Samuel Pate is just dropping in as well. Good to see you guys. Thank y'all so much for joining in on the stream. So, with that being said, what's on y'all's minds tonight? First, is it football stuff? Is it March Madness stuff? What is the first thing that you all want to discuss tonight? War Productions says he's losing sleep over the NIT. You know, I'm going to be honest with you. I completely forgot the NIT existed because Alabama wasn't in it this year. Because we love to rag them about always going to the NIT and then falling flat on their face. But, you know, they're having a little bit better of a year this year, so we can't use that against them. I'm excited, though, about actually having postseason basketball this year. I mean, we didn't get but like one game of the SEC tournament last year. So the fact that we not only have NIT, but NCAA is something we should be super, super excited about, right? So, yeah. Sam's really excited. March Madness, baby. I think we're all... I did my Dick Vitale baby impression there. Start off the night. I will give you a preview, and we're going to do this on another stream. I thought about potentially doing it tonight, and that was before I realized that they had changed the March Madness schedule, because I thought they would start the first 4 end games tomorrow. They're starting them the next day, Thursday. And then they've moved the schedule up and changed it around for all the COVID stuff. So we'll do a preview show. Probably, I'm thinking Wednesday night would be the best night. So I hope that you all can be here, and we'll maybe talk a little bit about that as well. Football practice. Who's excited? Is anybody hearing any tidbits, rumors, speculations? How much can you get from a first week of practice? I don't know. 14-1. Colgate is just a 14 seed. Baloney. Now Colgate they have a history of being spoilers for a lot of people, and I remember Auburn played them 2 years ago, and I think we beat them pretty bad, which was a very impressive win for us because they're not a team that you want to take lightly. So I say that to agree with you that might be a little bit of a low C for them. I saw your Auburn versus UCF vlog, or look like you are so mad. Interesting. I'm not catching that, Sam. Sorry. You look like you were so mad after the UCF game. Oh, of course I was. Now I got it. Yes, I was absolutely furious after that because I live here outside of Atlanta. Travel, it was the best possible situation. You get to go to a bowl game, and then your team stinks up the floor. And it's ironic now that we're talking about that team, and they have our former head coach, who also started spring practice. It's funny to me to see how much coverage Gus Malzahn is still having amongst these regional reporters. And I get it. It's still the Southeast. It's still, there's some intermingling of recruits, intermingling of storylines, and all that stuff. But it's just Gus Malzahn is still coming full force onto my timeline, whether it's Twitter or anything like that. It's pretty interesting here. Thomas, super excited for spring ball, so tired of recruiting and clickbait articles. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's the thing that you always got to remember, and it sounds like you got a good head on your shoulders. Tis the season. Actually, not anymore because they got spring practice. But anytime there is a slow period of news, which we kind of just went from, especially for football stuff, you're going to start getting those clickbaity things, those they want you to click, all that kind of stuff. Just the storylines of, I heard this, professor changed these grades for the student, miraculously appearing out of nowhere. So yes, we've got more things for them to actually talk about and not just build rumors and hype around. When does recruiting end? It actually never ends. Recruiting is a 24/7, 365-day process. It has its lulls, and you'll probably see, I would imagine it might pick up a little bit after the end of spring practice because you'll be probably having some players get interested in maybe committing or getting more excited about it, and then they'll kind of drive that up. We'll kind of hit a lull in a summertime, probably late June to late July. There's going to be like this dead period where you're going to see all kinds of good, just clickbaity stuff, and then it'll start gearing back up with football stuff again. Been a while since I caught a stream. Good to be back. Yes. So I haven't done as many of them lately, just because, kind of like we were just talking about, the big storylines haven't been out there as much, and so I didn't want to kind of just do them to do them. And we've also discussed potentially doing a more regular schedule. We thought we might start this week. Thought we might do a trivia night every Monday night, and then a just general live stream, kind of like we're doing here on Wednesday nights right before War Report goes on. We might do that in the future, something we're still playing with, but I did want to pop on here and just see some of you guys for the start of spring practice. Here's something interesting that I'll bring up, and I'm surprised that no one else has brought it up yet. Is anybody taking a look at that contract for Bryan Harsin? Anybody? Have you seen those numbers? I'll be honest with you, I was a little bit shocked by some of it. And I know that it's Auburn. I know we have the money, which is kind of sad why we weren't giving that to, not Coach Malzahn himself, but to the program. But if we can afford a buyout and this amount for a new head coach, that's pretty outstanding. So I'm trying to find the number on here in the article that shows what he was making at Boise State. All right, here we go. Harsin, at 44 years old, was making $185 million at Boise State in 2020. That's just 2020, 1 year. And let's see. So with this new contract, I'm going to read it off to you guys that says here in the article, it will pay on average $5.25 million to Harsin every year on a 6-year contract. Wow. A few more details about his salary. Begins at $5 million, increases by $100,000 on January 1st of each contract year, and then he also has bonus incentive things. Like make a SEC champ. They don't list them here exactly, but it's probably finish in the top 25, finish in the top 10, finish in the top 5, make the college playoff, win your SEC championship, win a national championship. All that's built in there with some more incentives that he can earn. He will earn $200,000 for every New Year's Six bowl appearance, $300,000 for reaching the college football playoff, $400,000 for reaching the title game, and $800,000 for winning a national championship. What a payday. Oh, my goodness. So those are some initial numbers that we're hearing. Yay or nay? Or actually, let me ask you guys this question. Too much, too little, or just right on his contract? And I know a lot of us don't understand a lot of contracts and numbers, stuff like that, but I'm curious as to what you may think. Because I kind of feel like it's a bit much, but that's just me. That I don't know everything. Just curious. Thinks it's a huge contract. Oh, Sam, it was a bad loss in baseball yesterday. I think my friend Clint Richardson of the Auburn Uniform said it best. Uniform Database said it best. The tradition of Auburn sports or Auburn Diamond sports dropping a game they shouldn't have on a weekend is continuing. At least wait until you see what you have and then pay him big, is what War Productions is saying. I won't say that I'm really like pushing that narrative, but I do feel that way a little bit. This feels a little much at the start. Just me, kind of my feelings about the whole situation. 7-8, what's going on, man? War Eagle, thanks for being here. And guys, as you do arrive, please make sure you smash that like button. If you're enjoying the stuff we're watching here. Very good contract. Blake World says just right. Why do you feel that way? Is there some reason why you think that he deserves that much? Because let's talk about this. I know it's Boise State and Auburn. It's a non-Power 5 to Power 5. It's a $4 million jump for just getting hired. I think when you get hired at a place like this, you expect a raise. I was thinking somewhere in the range of little over $3 million is probably what I would have been comfortable with personally. But it's if Auburn thinks he's worth it, obviously they think they've got something. But it's sure a lot to pay for a first-year head coach after you've bought out a top 10 level salary. Whether production was there or not, we can debate, but salary, yes. Thinks Auburn got a steal, so we got another one that thinks it was a good contract there. So it looks, I think that's kind of the, there's not going to be a down the middle. Either you think this was just right, like this is perfect, or you think this was probably a little too much. There's not going to be like a take it or leave it type. At least we haven't heard that quite yet. If we can afford Malzahn's buyout plus Harsin's contract, does that make you believe the athletic department booster influence has shifted at all? In what way, Thomas? Are you saying they have more influence or less influence? I guess I need a little bit more clarification on your question. Sam says, who here dislikes South Carolina? Yeah, I don't. I guess I would say it this way. I don't dislike them the way I dislike other teams. But I am not an SEC purist. And we've debated this here on this channel before. I don't want to see the rest of the SEC succeed. I understand. I know a lot of you that frustrates you. That makes no sense in terms of, because if our conference is doing well and we beat them, and that means we're doing well, I get it. But I just don't want to see my rivals succeed. And I consider them a rival, at least conference-wise. So, yeah, I don't like them. But they're not up there. I'd put them... It depends on the sport always, but I would put them just above like Kentucky, Vanderbilt, and Kentucky in basketball is different. So maybe a Vanderbilt and a Missouri. I'd put them just above like them, probably. The contract says the university is invested in their choice as a coach. I think, yes, the money speaks for itself. I cannot disagree with you there at all. It is quite a bit of a stamp of approval when you provide that much incentive to be the head coach. I can't argue with that whatsoever. Now, obviously, the results have to come onto the field, but the powers that be, whoever they are, surely that's that shows some confidence there. Now, is it the university? Yes. But at what level are the boosters really providing that? I'll let you decide on that one because I don't think any of us will ever truly know that answer. We are asking him to compete against LSU, Georgia, Texas A&M, Alabama at a high level, not going to Sunshine Pump, but I believe he is that guy in his opinion. I could be wrong, but you have to pay to play. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think you can pay a certain amount, and then if it's earned, you could pay more. And that's obviously what this contract's going to do. It's just got a much higher starting point than I was, quite frankly, comfortable with. By the way, does anybody know who his agent is? Is it the same guy as Gus Malzahn? Because that agent has been ripping us a new one in quite some time. I've been watching Boise State highlights under Harsin, and I recommend anyone else do so. Yeah, I went back and watched a few after the initial hire, just to kind of see what we were looking at, and lots of good stuff. My big question always is going to be, does it translate into the SEC? We'll find out. And again, and I want to caution everybody here too, and please remember, this is year one. You're not going to see a lot of fireworks in terms of big fireworks. You'll see some probably because it's Auburn. We've got the talent here. But you won't see a lot of big fireworks in year one. Year two, probably a few of those will come. But patience will be definitely in order. How weird is it going to feel watching us play more pro-style offense and then be able to watch UCF using the offense we used for the past 12 years? Well, I would disagree with you a little bit there because we didn't use it for 1 year. Which is what got Gene Chizik fired. We moved to whatever Loeffler tried to use, and he came from Temple, I think is what it was. It was more of a power run game, which we didn't really somehow or another do well in, which is kind of odd to watch. But I think that will be an interesting dynamic to kind of sit back and compare things. Here's the thing. Whether you want to admit it or not, Auburn fans will be paying attention to how UCF does this year. Some of us will never admit it, but you will be paying attention to it. Even if it's just flipping it up and saying, let me just see, okay. Because some people want that confirmation that this was the right decision and that Coach Malzahn's struggling over there at UCF, and I think that'll be validation. But then there's going to be others that are going to be hoping that it proves that it was the wrong decision. I don't think it'll make that decision because it's UCF versus Auburn, two different conferences. But if you think that the Auburn family is done with paying attention to Coach Malzahn, just pay attention to what the media is putting out there for Auburn fans to consume. Let's see. We'll have to see if he can earn his hefty pay for sure. This is year one, so how much can you really expect so soon? I agree. Year two would be a much better measuring stick, and that's why I keep trying to preach that to people, because I think the more I hear people talk about it, the more worried I am about their state of mind, their mental processing with all this, because I think that they're kind of setting themselves up for a big disappointment if they're expecting what Coach Malzahn did in year one. You're not going to get that. You're going to get some fireworks. You're going to get some good things, but just not as much as you're thinking. And if I'm wrong, I'm happy to be wrong on that one. I was impressed with the Boise State versus Florida State game in 2019. I think that's a good maybe measuring stick there. Problem is that Florida State has been down for much longer than that, so I wouldn't. And I remember watching that game too. I wouldn't use that as a benchmark for them for Coach Harsin competing on this level. Florida State at that point in time and currently was not a program that you really wanted to say that's your team that you're going to be beating on from the Power Five. I would say, had they beat a team at the time like trying to think of someone that would have been a Texas A&M, because they, this was probably their best year. But before that, they were kind of middle of the road SEC, but still could have the potential to beat some. They were competing with the likes of like Clemson. So if Boise State had competed with and beat a Texas A&M in 2019, I would have said, oh yeah, that's legit. Florida State, not really. But I understand that the point you're trying to make there. I actually want him to become a better coach after being fired. So talking about Coach Malzahn, yeah, obviously. I mean, I think we all generally want him to succeed, because I think by and large, as a collective, not individuals, but as a collective, the feeling is that we want our coaches to do well after us and then come back and us all be one big happy family again. It's kind of happened that way with Gene Chizik to some extent. It's Tommy Tuberville, obviously with Pat Dye before his passing. So yeah, I think, Coach Malzahn needs to learn some things from this. He didn't learn not to hire Herb Hand, though. Big disappointment for me on that one. It just gives me a headache thinking about it. I did like that Harsin said there was a pecking order, not a depth chart for QB today. Tough competition is vital for that position. Agreed. And I think that's the way you approach this, because I think what happens, and he's playing obviously a perception game with his players, but he's also playing a perception game with fans and the media. Because if he just comes out there and says there's a depth chart, well, then everybody knows what that means. Bo Nix is the quarterback, or the starting quarterback, and that's going to make a lot of people upset. But it's also not going to give the motivation for guys like a Demetrius Davis to push themselves and push Bo Nix to the point where we decide who actually is the best quarterback. And I will sit here and maintain that Bo Nix is the best option and will be the best option for Auburn in the foreseeable future. But I think that's a smart way to go about it. You simply say, here's the I'm laying it out here. We've got a pecking order. There's a clear front, and what that says is there's a clear front runner, right? Because a pecking order dictates there's someone in an order, someone at the front, someone behind. So we can say that there's a leader. It doesn't mean they can't get pecked out of the way. So I like the way he's playing that word game there. Ooh, I'm getting behind in chat. We're getting a lot of people popping in here. A lot of familiar faces we haven't seen in a while. Wasn't impressed with their BYU loss. Yeah, and again, see, on the other note of that, I wouldn't say that's a big ordeal for them. But, yeah, it's another cause for concern, though. Anybody else brushed up on Derek Mason's defense at Stanford? I have not. It's one thing I haven't done. I do know that it was pretty solid. I do remember that, so I'm not so worried about that, though. I think even at Vanderbilt, they showed the propensity to be able to play decent defense. They just didn't have the talent to compete and hold up against SEC offenses right now. 8 to 9 wins is a realistic expectation. I think we win the games we should. Biggest concern is how competitive we are against the rivals. Well, yeah. I would just be concerned right now with being competitive in general, because we got that big game against Penn State. If we discussing rivals, Alabama, LSU, and Georgia, I know people are starting to throw Texas A&M into the rivalry category. I'm not there yet. Alabama, maybe. Georgia, I think that it'll be a competitive year. LSU, I think that's leaning in our favor still at this point. I don't really know what way it's shifting for them right now in terms of their program. But after the year they had, I think they've still got a way to climb. Dusty, my favorite thing so far was that Harsin is the focus on getting better one day at a time. The previous regime used things such as championship urgency and 13 seconds better. That mindset loses. I think you're reading too much into that. I think they're both saying the exact same thing. They're just using different ways of saying it. And I think it's, you probably just feeling out here. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, Dusty, but I think you're misreading what the former regime, Coach Malzahn, was saying with that. It's the exact same thing as Coach Harsin, just different ways of saying that. By the way, since we got a lot of y'all here, I don't know if y'all were here at the beginning of the show. I do want to take this time to remind you, We are doing a March Madness challenge on the ESPN app. The link is in the description and at the very top of the chat window. If you haven't signed up, please do so. We'd love to have you be a part of it. It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of people from you see here have already signed up. You go in there through the link. It'll require a password, and that password is Conquer, CONQUER. So I hope you'll join in on the fun because I think we'll have a good time with that. We had a lot of fun with it 2 years ago, and we didn't get to do it last year, obviously. So I hope y'all all do that. What position groups are you most excited to hear about during spring practice? For me, it's going to be the wide receivers, but I don't know that anything that I hear from wide receivers is going to make me feel better about it. I got to see it. Like when I go to spring practice, the A-Day game, hopefully, that's what I'm going to be. I'm not paying attention to Bo Nix. I'm obviously, it's just a formality now that I'm paying attention to the offensive line because we haven't been good in that area for such a long time. But I like the young talent, but I'm concerned, can they be what we need them to be this year to fight through some struggles we'll potentially have? So I'm excited to see, not so much hear about the offensive line. Probably I want to hear that what I would love to hear is that there's a clear group on offensive line. Because that tells me there has been a group of guys that have separated themselves, and we're going to be focusing on them, getting them as many reps as possible, making sure they are ready to protect whoever is going to be Bo Nix, or for some other people who have refused to accept that yet, whoever is at quarterback. That is what I'll probably be paying attention to the most. If Bo Nix and our O-line can team up, we would live up to our expectations. Fair. The unused talent. So Rise Life, you're going to have to clarify for me what you mean by unused talent and who are you referring to. I would assume that's probably some wide receiver action. Tight ends is probably what it is now that I'm thinking about it. Tight ends is probably what you're going to say. Here's some other things from the Auburn contract for Coach Harsin that I wanted to bring up. So if Auburn fires Harsin without cause, they owe him 70% of his remaining salary. And the remaining 50 would be paid out over he gets 70% remaining salary, half within 30 days, and then the other half would be paid out over the next 4 years. And then if Coach Harsin were to leave, I think it broke it down here somewhere else. He would owe the school $7 million in the first year, $5 million in the second, $3 million in the third, and his buyout then drops by $1 million apiece in the fourth and fifth years of the agreement. So you can see that there's some probably learned lessons from the last contract with the head coach, and that they're kind of like, all right, we need an out. And they've learned, maybe we need to make sure we have a way to financially get out of a situation and I think that's a fair thing to do because, this is really what it is a do-over and an experiment with Coach Harsin. When I say experiment, I don't mean that to degrade Coach Harsin or to say that I don't think it's going to not work out. I'm hoping it's going to work, and I believe that it'll work out. But I think it is still an experiment. And so until there's some guaranteed success proven on the field, you're still going to see some buyout stipulations and, ways to protect Auburn. Because right now we're going to be paying Coach Malzahn. We're probably still paying Coach Chiswick. Probably still paying Coach Tommy. Who knows who we're paying still at this point. You're liking the cornerback talent. Yeah, I think that's a good spot to look at some of those things. Harsin mentioned using groups of 5 for the offensive line. It will be interesting to see how those groups change from spring to fall. Yeah, and I actually like that concept a lot. Now when you bring it up here, because I like the platoon system, and it's something I think Auburn basketball will be doing next year, potentially, especially if Sharif Cooper comes back. Well, actually, they probably, anyway, we're getting off track here, but Justin Powell even kind of puts a damper on that idea for me. I like the idea of having a platoon system and trying to find make the guys work together, a group of guys work together, figure it out together, and none of this interchanging stuff. And I know that obviously you can't have an ideal situation where the offensive line is going to stay together. There's going to be injuries. Who knows if we're still dealing with COVID stuff and somebody's out with that. But I think that's the biggest thing that we are struggling with right now is we need consistency on the offensive line. John, what's going on, my man? Good to see you. John is one of our loyal E2C Network Booster Club members. We appreciate him supporting our content here. John, by the way, I don't know if you saw, I did post it in there. We are doing that bracket challenge if you want to be a part of it. So sign up if you want to be a part of that. We're still paying Bo Jackson. Let's see. Dusty says, I disagreed. Gus routinely said things that showed his focus was all over the place. Bryan's mindset is more in line with Saban. Dabo's school of thought. The results will show it. UCF will go 4-8. Well, Dusty, I mean, I'm not trying to pick on you, so let me just say that right out. I hope you don't ever take it that way. But you seem to me like someone who's just kind of done with Coach Malzahn and kind of has that mindset about him. So I think you're going to be looking for the negative in that situation regardless, whereas it's not a very fair mindset. I think honestly, personally, if you take what each of those said, they're saying the same thing, just in different ways. And I think that's just where we're gonna have to agree to disagree on that. I like it. It's something new. I don't want to see us do the slogan again. It's a new day, or buckle up, or anything like that. We've already done that. This is supposed to be a redo. Let's not rehash old stuff. But yeah. So I would just say they're saying the same thing. John says, I'm just here for the football banter. Who isn't? That's what this is all about, right? I hope you come here for more than just the football banter, but I will do my best to provide as much as I can and be entertaining doing it if that's possible. I don't know that it is. But I do appreciate y'all being here and having fun with me on this. All right, so that's all the contract details. The biggest thing to take away from that is $5.25 million average per year over a 6-year deal with a lot of incentives for him, and then some protections for Auburn on the back end should they actually have a situation where they need to part ways. And I am 100% hoping that doesn't happen, because I'm tired of changing coaches every decade. I want longevity. I want decades. I want the days of Shug Jordan to return so that we can have some stability and the program can have a long trajectory of sustained success. I think the biggest thing is we disagree as a fan base is what that success looks like. And I think that's where a lot of disagreements come. Really hopeful for Auburn basketball next year. That's for sure. Powell was a big loss. My gosh, I that hit me like a ton of bricks. Did not see that coming, and the people I usually talk to for information, no one saw that coming either. That hit hurt. That hurt so bad, man. I don't know what to make of it. It made no sense to me. Hopefully something will come to light sooner rather than later. But we'll see. Dynasty, yes. We all, obviously you want a dynasty, but is it realistic? Probably no. But, I would take, winning an SEC championship every 5 years, if not sooner than that. I'd take, competing for a national championship every 5 years, if not more than that. I think that's very doable. I think making the playoffs 2 out of every 5 years is very doable and very plausible. So if that's what you call a dynasty, sure. But no, I think the only one that can make a case right now that they have a dynasty is, and I wouldn't even consider Alabama a dynasty, because a dynasty to me is you're winning year in and year out, like the national title every year. And they haven't done it year in and year out. Now, they've had this huge level of sustained success, but I still wouldn't consider it a dynasty, personally. People may disagree with that take, but that's just my opinion on the matter there. So obviously it's day one of practice. Not a lot of information to go off of, just the Coach Harsin press conference today, the news about his contract. And then I think tomorrow we're going to get interviews with Coach Bobo, Coach Mason, and I think some select players as well. So that'll potentially give us some new things to grapple with and take on to and start discussing. I think maybe by Wednesday we'll have a lot of good stuff to cut our teeth on and discuss things. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm not leaving right now, but you guys know the drill. I've been here for a while. Let me do my little end of the show spiel. Last comments, questions, let's get them in about any topic, even if it's still just football stuff. Main thing I want you guys to take away, I'm going to bring it up now, but is that bracket challenge. I hope you'll participate in it. It's a lot of fun. It's the links in the description and at the top, as long as all of the links for the stuff that I'm mentioning here. If you want to join the bracket challenge, you use the password CONQUER, CONQUER, to get in on that. We hope you will join us there. Obviously, you can support us by watching and listening to the podcast. You can join the Booster Club for as little as $1 a month. And you can donate on PayPal and go to our T-Public store, get a cool t-shirt with our logo and some other stuff over there that's related to Auburn. There's an Auburn Tiger artist that I'll actually be interviewing very soon that you may want to go check out some of his stuff. Some of his stuff is on our store. He gets most of the cut for us hosting it there, but if you want to support an Auburn artist, I suggest you go check that out. All the links are in the description. Let's see. How about that natty in track? Thomas, my man. You know how happy it makes me to see someone talk about some of the other programs here. If you haven't heard, my girl Joyce Camelli is a national champion for Auburn in the 5,000 meter run for indoor track. First of many decades. It's just incredible feat. We've been following her for a long time. We've been talking about her on the Tiger Tracks podcast. Speaking of podcasts, this is a full week. Already had a track podcast. You already had the March Madness preview show today. If you haven't checked that out, you should. Tomorrow's equestrian with the equestrian rankings out. Thursday we'll have football. Potential special episode on Thursday. Don't know if I'm going to be able to make it happen yet, but potential. And a new Auburn Roots on Friday with a new interviewee over there that I think I've already shared in the Booster Club, since they get to know stuff before anybody else does, and insights and all that kind of stuff. There's also some new bloopers and stuff in there if y'all want to check them out that only they have access to. But you know who the next guest is if you're a member there, so go check some of that stuff out. But yeah, so that's kind of what we've got going on this week. Lots of cool stuff, bracket challenge, and then I'm going to be plopping myself in a chair on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday to watch all this basketball. So I do plan to do another live stream Wednesday night. I'm feeling like 8 o'clock's the good time, and we'll probably preview March Madness. We can talk about Auburn stuff too, but I hope that you'll come back and be here. Tell a friend. That's honestly the easiest and the biggest thing that you could do for us. And I hope to see you all here, and we'll hopefully have some football stuff to talk about too. But until I talk to you guys then, War Eagle.